magazine. Now, it's one of the worst humanitarian crises in the world, yet hardly receives media attention, a growing concern at the UN. Well, it's happening as we speak in the Egyptian Sinai Peninsula, the setting for a horrible human trafficking operation. The victims in this case are African refugees, mostly fleeing the dictatorship of Eritrea. Men, women, and children are kidnapped and held hostage by Bedouin smugglers and even tortured, while their captors demand exorbitant ransoms from their families. In Israel, where 35,000 Eritrean refugees reside, they struggle to save these lost and tortured souls. Well, here's their story, African Refugees, Sinai's Captives. A report by Keren Shayo.
Hello. Can I talk to Salam? It's Rabani.
He hung up even though he's her brother. She said that at this time they cut their hands. And they hadn't had water in 24 hours. She's crying now.
For 20 years now, Eritreans have tried to escape a brutal military dictatorship in their country. In 2006, Europe closed its borders to African refugees. To escape Eritrea, thousands flee the country northward to the Sinai Desert with hopes of crossing the Egyptian-Israeli border. To date, more than 35,000 Eritreans have crossed the border into Israel. Bedouin smugglers began to kidnap Eritreans for ransom. The hostages are held in camps and suffer daily torture. They're forced to call their family members and pressure them to pay for their release. Those who finally make it into Israel can mostly be found in the streets of southern Tel Aviv, where they struggle to survive without any legal status. Mahari Tahle reached Israel safely 3 years ago. His nephew Burhane was kidnapped on his way from Eritrea to Israel. The kidnappers demand an extremely high ransom for his release, which Mahari simply can't afford.
We already paid $11,000, but it's not changing the situation. They're demanding the full amount. This is the situation. They are imprisoned. Their legs are chained all the time. On the top of it, they torture and beat them.
How do you know this?
He told me. I can hear it on the phone. They let them call and then torture them while they talk on the phone. I hear his cries and his suffering when he calls.
Merona Stefanos is a journalist and a human rights activist living in Sweden. Merona is dedicated to raising global awareness of the issue. On her radio program, she speaks daily with the hostages and their families.
I'm calling you from Sweden. Mahari gave me your phone number. He asked me to call you. Hold on, Burhana. Hold on.
So he said that, I don't think I'll make it out. And I was saying, no, don't say that. You will come out. Your uncle is doing everything. And he's like, no, I don't think so. And he was telling me 4 died so far in that place. And there was 3 men and 1 woman.
It's estimated that from 2009 to 2013, 5,000 people died and countless others disappeared in the Sinai. Merona Stefanos came to Israel to meet the survivors face to face in the hope of gathering more evidence of the existence of the horrific torture camps.
I spoke to you on the phone.
You spoke to me? What is your name? Ah, Kichane, let me give you a hug. How much did you pay?
He paid 25,000.
My relatives in Eritrea sold all their property, including jewelry.
Thousands of Eritreans in Israel have failed in their desperate attempts to gather ransom payments for their relatives' release. They sell all their possessions and beg for the help of the local community and relatives around the world.
Where is he now? Can he come?
It's estimated that some $600 million in ransom have been paid to the kidnappers so far.
Hello. First of all, I want to tell you I'm active on behalf of refugees for 14 years in Israel. In 2009, the smugglers, the Reshaida, were asking for $3,000, $5,000. Dear people like you who just wanted to save their beloved ones, pay the ransom, and now they are asking for $40,000 and $50,000 and $60,000. And sometimes during this time they die from the torture or from starvation and lack of water. I know how difficult it is when someone you love call you and ask you send the money or they will kill you. But it is your money that makes them stronger.
As we agreed, no one should pay a single dollar until we find a solution.
We really need to join efforts to make as much pressure as possible on those who can change the situation over there.
The payment is encouraging the Bedouins, but how can you let a 2-year-old child to die there? You know, I'm a mother, so it kills me.
With chains, they were torturing them, then they were melting plastic bags and dropping it in their bags. And this is the burns. All this is from the fire that they were. Same thing here.
What did you see around the house? What did it look like?
We didn't see anything because we were blindfolded all the time. We still suffer the effects of it.
You were blindfolded 24 hours a day?
Yes, I remember the torture, and all my friends died. I was in between two of them when they died. It was painful to me.
It's estimated that 8,000 torture camp survivors have arrived in Israel. Yet thousands of others simply disappeared in the desert. Kabdom, a young Eritrean leader living in Israel, is trying to discover new leads and information about the missing people.
I don't know how we pass through this fence. I don't know, I can't remember it. I pass like this one through, but I don't know how can I pass. I can't remember it. I can't remember what I was happening at that time. I don't know. Only that I remember all my clothes are left in the fence.
Kfir Sivan serves on his reserve duty along the border between Egypt and Israel. During his service, he meets Eritreans who manage to escape the torture camps as they cross the fence.
Whether they are infiltrators or migrant workers, they pass the frontier with the intention to get caught. They want to be caught. Some nights they're 50, some others 100 and more, barefoot or wearing socks or ripped socks, with shredded clothes after they pass the fence. They just run toward this barbed wire. Very often, the Egyptians just shoot at them. The bullets hit them in the back, and people who flee are not trying to hide or to defend themselves. That's very sad.
There are three options. Maybe they are dead, or under the Bedouins here in Sinai, or in the hand of the prison of the Egyptians. We need to address where they are.
Many bodies are discovered by Israeli soldiers at the border and are buried in a special anonymous section of the cemetery. Kabdom still pursues his search for those who disappeared.
They call them infiltrators.
How do you call them?
I call them human beings.
Have you ever seen the bodies that arrive from the border?
I saw with my own eyes. He got a bullet in his eye. I don't know who shot him, but he had a bullet in his eye.
Do you know them, Kabdum?
Hmm?
Do you know them? You heard about them?
Yeah, I heard before.
What? What happened
There are
to them?
two guys at the same day. Their name is Michele and Merhani. Was dead in the border. They shooting them. Yeah. That's it.
Mahari, whose nephew is currently captive in the Sinai, hasn't heard from him in weeks, and he's now working tirelessly to get any sign of life.
Hello. How are you? Who am I talking to? Listen, I want to speak to Berhane. Can I talk with Berhane? Okay, then let me talk to him. Wake him up. I need to talk with him. It's me, Mahari. Tell him Mahari needs to talk to him. What do you mean he's sleeping? It is not possible to wake him up. Why can't he talk? What? He can't even a little bit?
What happened?
I can't explain what they go through over there in Sinai. I just can't.
In March 2014, for the first time, the European Parliament called on Egypt to end the abuse by human traffickers. Currently, the kidnappings and torture continue with no end in sight. Joined by Keren in the studio. Keren, thank you for bringing us this story.
Thank you, David.
Well, I know you worked on this for years, essentially, to bring us the story. First, let's start with Berhane, who was lost in the camps there. His family's trying to find out what to do, how to get him out of there. What was his fate in the end?
Berhane was eventually released from the torture camps after his uncle paid $25,000 to set him free. Then he just disappeared. We lost his track. His uncle hasn't heard from him anymore. We just don't know what happened to him.
So he disappeared. In other words, the ransom did nothing. It's a huge amount of money for these people. That leads me to my next question here. The ransom, the concept of paying this ransom, is it effective or not? This is the debate taking place. Should anyone even pay the ransom? What options do they have?
The truth is, they don't have too many options. It's either paying or not paying. The idea of not paying the ransom was meant to stop this huge business that is growing in Sinai and that keeps growing year after year. But of course, a few days after they decided not to pay the ransom, one of the community members did pay and dragged with him all the rest. That's what happened, and so they keep paying the ransom until that day.
Sadly, probably a big piece of the economy for this Bedouin in the Sinai Peninsula. They're, of course, not going to give that up easily. Well, the refugee crisis is, with the Eritreans here, is not unique per se. You have huge refugee issues across the region. The Syrians, of course, North Africans rushing to Europe. How do these Eritreans get the attention that they deserve? How do they get the help that they need? What can they do?
Look, I think first of all that Eritrea is not the international community's top priority. So it's very hard to draw attention to their story. And second of all, it is really a very big international issue. There are refugees, millions of refugees, more than 50 million refugees around the world. And that's an issue that cannot be solved at the moment.
Well, difficult case. Keren, thank you again for bringing us this story.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching us here at Insight. Catch us again next week at the same time.